Today in the weather.
Jam on toast.
Hey there, welcome to the Jam. I'm Cameron. Today the toast is too cloudy with a chance of meatballs. This is a video for hashtag We Are Movie Club. This is week 16, and this week's pick is Charlie. So the short sale on this one is that a guy kind of infamous for failure ends up inventing a machine that materializes food from water. The machine gets stuck in the sky and it ends up raining food. That's really the premise. My love it for this one, the one thing that stuck with me for the whole movie was the animation of the water in the fishbowl. Friggin' amazing how that works. I remember looking up and researching a little bit when Pixar released Finding Nemo about how difficult water is to do. And I know when Pixar was talking about Monsters, Inc., how they were talking about like a model putting its arm through another model, like to wear a coat or something. That is supposed to be very difficult too. And obviously we've come a long way since Monsters, Inc. and Finding Nemo even. But the way that the bowl was rotating and rolling through the town with the water in it, and the water was reacting and behaving all on its own, it looks like anyways, they did a pretty good job. So that was a liquid type object inside a rotating cylinder object with another object in the water. So just mad props to the animation department for that one. I was really impressed. I know it's probably not something a lot of you would have realized, but I know there's a couple animation people in the clubs. My hate it was the stupid, goofy self-narration nonsense. It was always at least one too far, too many, too stupid. There wasn't a lot of point to it in the first place, and then he would like redo it if something went wrong. A lot of his mannerisms were just kind of like, what are we doing here? Why? But that was part of the character and part of the point, so I get the reason for doing it, but it wasn't entertaining in the sense that I feel that it was intended, at least for me. The MVP of this movie and what makes it what it is Flint Lockwood's character. I'm not going to say that he saved the movie or there wasn't another more entertaining character. I'm saying because the movie is focused on him the way it is, he becomes the center of every single action in the movie. It all becomes down to how he is working out with the girl, how he is working out with the food, with the mayor, with the people. It's super centralized on him, so of course he's the driving force of everything. And while it's not the best move in the world, it's what's moving is him. He's the engine that runs this crazy machine of a movie. Well, let's get on to the categories. Aesthetics. The animation for this is really well done. They definitely put a lot of effort and work into it. They spent time to get it stylized the way it is. They spent the extra effort to do like the rat birds and the monkey and to get the fur right. And of course I mentioned the water in the bowl, and there's a lot of ocean in here. Animating all this weird food and the behavior of all the different gizmos and gadgets and food and everything, that had to take a lot of work, and I'm only assuming that they stylized it the way they did to help keep it simple, but somewhat striking and entertaining. Now, personally, while I think they did such a great effort, I don't like the stylization. I don't like the implementation of the food, the way it is, the way it's presented. The characters don't move me. They look goofy, and they, not in an entertaining way or a sympathetic way. I like how the mayor changes so much, and I like his dad. His dad as a character, I'd love to see him again, but he doesn't match any other character in the entire movie. So it's like, did they just borrow him from somewhere? Obviously, he was designed to be like that, but I just liked his style so much better. Again, the little self-narration bits were silly and not engaging at all. The cop actually pulled me in a little bit, but he spoke so out of place that it was jarring. It was like, oh, this is something different, let me focus on it, which was refreshing because I maybe wasn't always engaged in the movie, but at the same time, like once he starts talking for long enough, you're like, why is he talking like that? Overall, I gotta say that it's a good effort, but it's not striking me personally. Aesthetics gets an 88. Character development. I want to say that like the main character goes through this great roller coaster of ups and downs, and character development, learning what it means to be liked by people, and that it's okay to be accepted for who he is. But he only gets like half of that. I think his dad and the love interest go through more character development than anything. She goes into this weird thing where she is supposed to be super smart, but she's just an intern at a news station subbing for a weather position that she's not actually got, which is fine if you're young and smart and you're just in the wrong position at the wrong time. That's fine. You write it off. But then she keeps downing herself, and they point that out, and then like he remakes her into like what she was or whatever. But if she's smart enough to follow his crazy inventions, then like she should be doing something with herself. She should be a little bit smarter to realize what she has to do with things, and that's great that she loves meteorology. But she kind of goes through this growth and adventure of becoming a bigger, better person. He doesn't really do that. He kind of is the same goofy, intelligent loser at the end that he started with, but he happened to fail his way into a good invention. His dad goes through a lot just learning to accept and deal with him, and obviously they're both dealing with their Flint's mother's death. And you see the town kind of go through similar things, and Brent kind of goes through something, and the mayor, I think, goes through as much of the character development as a politician can, because he's still a little snake by the end of it, or a big snake, if you will. I just didn't feel like we really went through much with the characters, and not much of what we did go through really mattered. There's a lot of like fluff in this to kind of make the use of the food being created, and that's fine. It's cost efficient. It just didn't move me for the characters. Character development gets a 65. Storyline. Let's take this as it's normally presented, without any of the backstory of the island, or nothing to do with sardines. It rains food on a place. That's really the entire story, and all the goofy stuff you can do with that. Now, that's not much of a story itself, but the adventure of going through and, oh, the machine goes crazy and they have to fix it. That's a little bit better of a story, and there's a lot of potential there, honestly, for if you're going to take the suspension of disbelief that we can materialize food, and then that somehow it gets trapped in the sky so that it rains food. And you can tell this was all reversed. They were like, we want it to rain food. How do we make that plausible at all? And I'm like, well, what's making the food? We'll make a machine. Well, how'd the machine get there? It went out of control, and he lost it, and it flew up there. And that's kind of the movie we ended up with. I just didn't feel it was a compelling story. It wasn't a great story. And I'm kind of a snob when it comes to movie stories. I'll admit that. I want something epic. I want something dramatic and moving. I want something powerful. And not always do I want something light and entertaining. In fact, I'm more rarely in the mood than that. And typically when I get in those moods, I want to binge on it. I'm like, well, I don't want to think. I don't want to do anything dramatic. I want to watch light and funny. And then I do that for like a week or something. And then it's out of my system for a couple months or whatever. Since Movie Club, we get such a variety there that I honestly gotta say that hasn't been the case. So maybe it just hit me on an off streak or something, but I gotta say, this is not a story that speaks to me. Storyline gets a 60. Compulsion. I have to admit, I was sick. I was tired when I started watching this. I was hungry, so I ate some food. And so by the time the food actually started raining in any great amount, I wasn't really hungry anymore. The food didn't really interest me. The movie kind of lulled me into like a relaxed state where it's like, okay, this is a thing that's happening in front of me. Because I didn't find any of the jokes really funny. It's not designed for adults to think it's funny, I don't think. And I think, if I remember right, they corrected that in the second one, but the first one was very kid-oriented. It's like, it's raining food, let's have an ice cream town. And it's not things that add up and accumulate to anything else. There are a bunch of small individual story arcs that just happen to happen inside this big thing. It's like having episodic content in a series, but put in a movie, and then the series episodes are like 10, 15 minutes long, which is a great opportunity for comedic writing, which I would think they would capitalize on that, but maybe they tried, but they wanted it kid accessible, and there was just a lot of arguing in the background that didn't allow it to really go one way or the other, so we get this nice, weird gray area in the middle that a lot of people can relate to, just not feel very strongly about, because I don't know anyone who's like, yeah, Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs, I love this and that and that. A lot of people that I do know have watched this and liked it, are like, yeah, it was good. It was good. And that's it. It's not anything hilarious throughout most of it, but it does have some very funny things. And just being able to say Jello Castle should be entertaining enough, but it just kind of failed my expectations, I think. Compulsion gets a 50. Now, if we total all that up, we get an average of 65.75. For my wrap-up review, I've got to say, this is not a movie for me. It doesn't mean that nobody should see it, but personally, I can't recommend it, and honestly, even academically, I'd say give this a miss. Unless you just want to see some animation, food animation, and just this weird, wacky concept to see what they did with it, I'd say give this a miss. I think to harp on it past that would be just kind of mean, so I'm going to stop. This week's pick was Charlie, and Charlie, I am sorry I didn't like this. Not everyone is going to like everything, but I hope this is a movie that you love and enjoy, and that you really wanted something special out of this movie, and you got it. I just can't say the same thing.
Next week on We Are Movie Club is MetteMedicine, and we will be reviewing The Hunt.
Once again, this was a review for hashtag We Are Movie Club. Be sure to check out both their channels and search the hashtag to see everyone else who's involved, and by all means, check out their stuff. I don't think there's anyone in the club that you shouldn't check out. Everybody has their own things to contribute. Everybody's different. But definitely check out their stuff and see what's up. And by all means, do your own movie review and add the hashtag We Are Movie Club in and be part of the club. This is an open thing. Anybody can join a hashtag. That's part of the point, is that no one owns it. So that everybody can join in and we can hear from you, and maybe you'll even get picked. And then you can choose the movie that all of us are going to review. I think that's it for me. I'm Cameron, and if you don't like me, bite me. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels. What was the other thing?